Hey there, this is K4A, Knowledge for All, educational videos and tutorials channel. We are continuing with making our dress up game in Scratch, and in today's video we are finally going to start making the game in Scratch. So far we have analyzed the game and made the game design document, which I said was not maybe necessary for this game because it's small, but it's better on the long run, since that way we will learn a lot. And in this video we are going to finally start shifting from theory to practice. Okay, so let's do it finally. First of all, to follow this video you will have to either have a Scratch account or a Scratch offline. I made my dress up game in a Scratch offline editor, but you can use the Scratch online also. I will use for this tutorial Scratch online. So if you don't have it, just go to Scratch site. It's scratch.mit.edu, and I think you can start creating by just clicking on create on in top left corner, or if you want to make a username and log, then go to this top right corner and make your username and password by registering at the Scratch site, and that's also what we have talked about earlier. When you register and make your username, and Scratch will give you some space to post your projects online and to communicate with other Scratch users on forum and so on by messages. So that's also cool, and you can make your projects and publish them under your chosen name. My username is K4All, and you can find this tutorial and other tutorials which I publish on Scratch site under that name, K4All. So I will share my project once I finish it, and also during the work, so you can follow that that way. Okay, so I'm going to click finally on this button which says new project. Scratch will take a few probably a little bit more than a few seconds, but a few moments to make new project, and it was really fast actually. Okay, so we are starting from scratch in Scratch, and we want to make our dress up game. If you have watched our previous tutorial video, we made something called game design document, GDD. That's something which is used in game development, and it's very helpful when you make bigger games. For small games like a dress up game, maybe it's not necessary, but we will use it anyway. And that game design document is actually everything we analyzed before about our dress up game. So we analyzed our dress up game to understand how it works, what dress up game is made of, and we wrote that down in game design document. So you can think of game design document as some kind of to-do list. Okay, so we have this to-do list. If you don't have it, just watch mine, which I am using right now, and follow that way. In my game design document there is written that I need to make some kind of artwork. First of all, that there's a character. In our case that was a girl, but you can pick a boy, pick a custom character, some animal, some superhero, draw your own character and so on. And other than that, I need some kind of background. Also, it can be from Scratch, it can be custom, and so on. Okay, let's go to Scratch to find our character. First of all, I see this cat character, which is by default in Scratch. I don't need it, and I can delete it by selecting it first here and then pressing this trash icon on top of in the right top right corner of this icon. Okay, simple as that. And then go to your bottom right and click on this icon with cat which says choose a sprite. It will open a Scratch Sprite Library. We were talking about some of those features in my previous tutorials, but if you haven't followed them and watched them, it's okay, you can follow this way. It's very simple and easy to understand and very intuitive, but if you have time, watch the videos, of course, which I made before. But in short, this Scratch library is library of images which you can use in your Scratch projects, in your Scratch games, in your Scratch animations, and so on. Whatever you want to make in Scratch, you can use those images for free to make your projects better looking. In my case, I need a girl character, so I will click on people button, and now I will try to find, yes, here it is. It's called Harper, and that was the character which was used in my previous dress up game, which I was exploring few videos before. Okay, so I will click on this Harper character and it will show up in my Scratch scene, my Scratch backdrop on my screen in top right. That's cool. Let me click on costumes, which is a button on top left. So first button is code, second is costumes, and third one is sounds. Click on the costumes just to check out, are there any other images here? Yes, there are some other girls here, so you can pick this girl, or this girl. They are all called Harper, but this one is Harper C, Harper B, and Harper A. Okay, I will stick to Harper A so far, and that was actually it for my character artwork which I needed. Let's now try to find what? Background. I will, instead of clicking on choose a sprite, I will click on this icon in top right corner next to it which says choose a backdrop, and again Scratch will open a library of images which I can use for my games, animations and projects, and in my case I will try to find one. Yes, here it is, which I used before for my game, which is called Light. It has a big white circle and some kind of orange yellowish background. I like that one most because it is very good for our game, very simple but very effective. It puts our character in center of attraction, so we can concentrate on it only. And if we have picked some other backdrop, it would be maybe different to see our buttons and our clothing on the screen. But you can pick whatever you want. You can pick, for example, a spaceship, and you can make a dress up game in spaceship, or for example, you can make up a game which this girl is dressing up in her bedroom. That's also cool, but I will probably stick to this light one. Yeah. And if you have noticed, when I clicked on this choose a backdrop and picked something else, so I picked first this light one, then I picked spaceship, then I picked bedroom 3, and they were showing one by one on the screen. But later, when I select the backdrop button, which is again second from the code, it will show all of them here one after another, so you can change them and see how it looks maybe even later in our games. So we can make the game and then change those backgrounds to see which one fits the better. For now I will stick to this light one. Okay, so I have actually finished this background task also. Okay, let's read it again. Artwork needed is character, we did it, we picked a girl, and background, we pick that too. Let's go further into tasks. Our next task is to make 4 buttons: hats, shirts, pants and shoes. Okay, let's do it. Also, if you have noticed, when I picked some kind of sprite, some kind of image here, like this girl, this button next to the code button on your top left changes into costumes, but when I pick backdrop here under this stage, it will change to backdrops. So don't get confused or afraid. If it says a backdrop, that means you selected backdrop here, so click on the sprite and it will turn into costumes, and vice versa. If you want to change backdrops and you are in sprite, just click on the backdrop here. Simple as that. Okay, let's get back to our task here. We said we need to make 4 buttons: hats, shirts, pants and shoes. Okay, buttons are actually also images. Images are called sprites in Scratch. So where are we going to find those? Again, we are going to find them in Sprite Library. So let's try to find it. And here they are. They're already here in 4th row, and I will pick this gray one and it will show up on the screen. I can go again into choose a sprite and pick another one here again, but instead of that I can also click on one of those sprites to select them first, then right click and choose duplicate, and the new one will show up on the screen. And I will do that again because it's faster for me than going into Sprite Library. Easier and faster. Okay, so what I see here is that first of all, these button images, they don't have any text on them. We have to add that. And second of all, they are intersecting with this girl. So when I was making my dress up game before, I probably changed this girl's size. We will have to check that later during production of our game, but just be aware of that. What I meant by that is that this girl is too big for this scene in terms of she is touching the buttons. I don't want that, so I can either make her smaller and not touching the buttons, or make buttons smaller and not touching the girl. This way she can actually fit in, but it will be maybe ugly when we add some kind of clothing here. Okay, anyway, let's first change our buttons into buttons with text. So far they all look the same. We don't want to do that. We want them to say what? Hats, shirts, pants, shoes. Let's do it. How to change image in Scratch. Image in Scratch is called sprite, and different looks of same sprite, of same image, are called costumes. So click on the costumes button, second from the right in your top left corner, and Scratch will open some kind of program, some kind of application which you can use to draw and to change graphics. That means you can draw all of your game graphics here in Scratch. You don't need to have any other kind of software like Photoshop or I don't know, Inkspace or Krita or Corel or so on. You can draw characters, environment, backgrounds, everything in Scratch without leaving the Scratch, which is great. And of course it's not powerful as a Photoshop and so on, but users which use the Scratch are kids and teenagers and people who don't care much about how cool their graphics are looking anyway. They are more they are more into game being fun instead of being good looking. Okay, let's try to add text on this. There is actually buttons here which says text, and when I click it I can draw the text here on the screen. So I can say hats, H-A-T-S, and I can, instead of using this color indigo or pink or whatever it is, I can select this text and change this fill into something else, like maybe yellow. Yes, okay. And I click then on this arrow which says select, so I can select this heads text and move it to the left and to the right so it will fit better. And you can see on the screen on your right where the girl is and where the buttons are, that we already can see how the button changed. It says heads now, but it's too small, so I will click here and make it bigger. Click on one of those and you can scale it up or down. If you make it too big, you can undo with Control Z, and you can rotate it here with this arrow also, but for now on I will just make it as big as possible so everyone can see that clearly. Okay, that was first button which says hats. Let's go to second button, costumes, text button, click and type. What was here? Hats, shirts, I think. Again, click and drag to the center. Click on one of those handles and drag to make it bigger. Make it bigger as long as it is fitting into the button, and try to center it. It doesn't have to be perfect. That was shirts button. Hats, shirts, pants and shoes. Okay, I clicked on the third icon here on the third button, image sprite, and then on text, and then type pants, then select and move it, select and resize it, and so on until you make it look the way you want. So far so good. Maybe it's a little bit off. Okay, and the last one, shoes, right? Okay, so make 4 buttons: hats, shirts, pants and shoes. I think we did that already and it looks good. Hats, shirts, pants, shoes. If I click on them, what happens? Nothing. Why? Because we haven't coded anything yet. And that's also cool, and also don't worry about it. So far in this first stage we're going only to add images, sprites on the screen, so we will make our game in terms of look, and then in second video we will add interactions, we will add code and so on. You don't have to do it this way. I have chosen it this way in this tutorial to show it can be done that way. If it's easier for you, you can make and code at the same time, but for my tutorials I think I will use this approach. I will analyze the game, make the game design document, then put as much images as possible into the game, and then start adding logic, adding code. That makes most sense to me. Next one is task is to add 3 hats: sport hat, teddy bear hat and Panama hat. Let's try to find those. Those are also images. Images are called sprites, so let's find sprites. Where? In the sprite library. Those are clothing. Do I have clothing here? Animals, people, fantasy, dance, music, sports, food, fashion. It could be in fashion. Let's try, yeah, let's try to find those there. And I see hat 1, and when I hover on it, when I put my cursor over it, it changes. It's like animated hat, going from sport hat to teddy bear to Panama to girl hat. So it's maybe confusing for some of you, but we will see that soon. That's all very easy to understand. Just click on the hat to pick it, and it will show up on your stage. Then click and drag it to the left where it was in my game, in my dress up game. So it was here, and then click on the sprite and click on the costumes to see what do we have here. You can see, which I explained earlier, you have in one sprite you have 1, 2, 3, 4 sprites. So one sprite, which is called hat, actually has 4 images in it, 4 different sprites. So it can be confusing for some of you. How is that possible? Is it one sprite or is it 4 sprites? But in Scratch and also in other game engines, it is allowed you to make sprites that way, to attach into one sprite, to attach lots of other sprites, and those are called sprite animations in some other game engines. In Scratch they are called costumes, and they are mostly used for animations. So for example, if you want to make some kind of character move, you make first image like it moves its leg a little bit, then second image a little bit more, third whole step forward, and so on, so it looks like it's moving. I think the cat has that kind of animation, so I will go to sprites, select the cat just to show you, costumes, and yeah, it only has two sprites, but you can see that it looks like it's running, like it's moving. And those costumes, different costumes, are used mostly for animations. But for this sprite hat 1, they are actually very different. We can use that also, don't worry, and we can use it to our advantage, but just I wanted to explain you how it works and what is it used for. Okay, I will select hat H, and I will no, first one, what would be the most efficient way to do it? Yeah, I will select hat. If it's not selected, select your hat 1 here in your sprites here, and then as we did before, right click, duplicate, and duplicate it again, so you have 3 same heads here. So you say now, okay, this doesn't make any sense, I need different heads here. Okay, we will do that fast, don't worry. First hat was what? Sport hat, and that's here, right? That's cool. So let's select the second one. The second one says teddy bear, so click on the costumes, select the second hat, click on the costumes, and we need teddy bear like this. So just select the teddy bear from the costumes. Also, if you're afraid that sometimes you will select some other, you can delete those others. Just click on the costumes that you want to delete, like this sport hat, delete it, this hat C, delete it, hat D, and you will be left with teddy bear only. Same goes with this hat 3. Select hat 3, this sport hat, and we need to turn it into Panama hat, that is the white hat. And go to costumes and delete everything but the white hat. I need this white hat, and I don't need this yellow hat. Cool. So only the white hat will be shown on the screen. So far so good. We have those here. And what is next? 2 shirts, dinosaur shirt and pink shirt. Let's try to find those. Dinosaur shirt, let's go to fashion. Oh, here it is. Shirt. So it's there. Let me see if we have other. No, There is no pink shirt here, so we are in the problem. Let's try to find it again. Shorts, sunglasses, winter hat. No. There is no pink shirt. So what are we going to do now? I have this dinosaur shirt, but in my game design document it says pink shirt also. That's a problem for me. I don't have it here in Scratch, so I will have to make it somehow. That's out of scope of this video. We will make that in later video, but I just wanted to show you how sometimes and when you make the games, especially in other game engines, you won't get for free every kind of graphics you need. You won't get all the images you need in the Scratch or in the Unity or in the Game Maker Studio or in other game engine. So you have to either make them or someone else make them for you, or you buy them and so on. So just take care of that. I skipped that part here because Scratch gives you a ton of free images which you can use for your games, and also gives you that we saw that earlier, that little app which you can use to make and draw your own. But just be aware that sometimes you won't find here in Sprite Library what you need. So you either have to make it yourself or find it online, or someone else make it for you, or buy graphics for your game and so on. Okay, we are going to make a note here that we don't have a pink shirt and that we have to make it for our game later. Let's go to pants. I need the blue pants here and pink pants. Pink panther. Let's try to find it. Library, fashion, pants. Cool. I have a blue one and pink one as costumes. So click on it. Blue one is showed here. And if I right click and duplicate it and go to costumes, I will find a pink one too also. Great, just what I need. If you want, you can delete the first one here and the second one here, just not to confuse you. So you will have only one costume for your sprite. Okay, so we made that one. But as you can see, this stage here now looks very crowded. So we are in a new problem here. We will solve that easy, no fuss. But let's get back to our tasks from game design document. We fixed this one. Let's go to last one. I think this is the last one. Yeah, shoes. We need 3 kinds of shoes: green sport shoes, brown boots, and pink flying shoes. Let's go choose a sprite. Let's go choose a fashion. Let's go find the shoes. Here they are, and they have couple of costumes in them. So just click on those, click and drag them on the screen, and we have green sport shoes already. Nice. Right click and duplicate. Go to costumes, delete the first one. We have a shoes which looks like boots now. Cool. Right click and duplicate those. Delete the first costume, so you will have roller skates. No, I don't need them. Also delete those too. You will have the pink flying shoes, and that's it. We have all the buttons we need here on the screen. It looks really messy and crowded, but we will fix that later, or maybe soon. I'm lying. Anyway, let's see what else is here. Next task is to make code, which is great, but it's not true, because if you have watched my previous video, you know that I forget what. Those images which we have just added here, they are all buttons. So this hats, it's button, shirts is button, pants is button, shoes is button, and when I click on hats button, those hats will show up, but they are also buttons. So when the player clicks on this cap, I need the cap here on the girl. When the player clicks on the teddy bear hat, I need the teddy bear hat on the girl, and so on and so on. So I have to add those two. I forgot and was lazy to add them in my game design document, but I've told you in previous video for you to do it on your own. Okay, so I will actually just now do what? The easiest way for me is to copy and paste all of those images. Again, the images which I added here are only the buttons. I need the dress, the clothing for the girl, so I need to copy them and put them on the girl. So select hat 1, right click, duplicate, and when it shows on the screen, drag it on the girl. Then click on the teddy bear hat, hat 2, duplicate. When it shows on the screen, click and drag it on the girl. Hat 3, right click, duplicate. Click and drag it on the girl. Shirt, right click, duplicate. Click and drag it on the girl. Pants, right click, duplicate. Click and drag it on the girl. And it doesn't have to be very precise, don't worry, don't be afraid. Just make it as clean as possible, but if it doesn't fit perfectly, it's okay. Shoes, duplicate. Drag them on the girl's feet. Shoes number 2, duplicate. Click and drag them on the girl. Feet, we'll fix those later. And the last one, pink flying shoes. Click and drag it here. Okay, so this is all we need for our game in terms of images, sprites, artwork. So we have done the task for today. We have actually made everything from the art which is needed for our game, and to be honest and precise, we didn't made anything, we just used what the Scratch artist gave us for free, but we have imported that in our game and put that on our scene. That's also a progress. So a very big part of the game is done for today, but if you can see it yourself, it looks really messy, and when I start my game, I don't want it to start it this way, right? When I click on this go button, do I want to see all of those clothing on the screen? Maybe in your game. In my game it's not going to happen, so I will have to hide it somehow. How that works in Scratch? You can hide something on the screen in two ways. You can click on this looks and find hide code block, indigo one, but we're not going to use that one for today, maybe later. For today I'm going to do that with these buttons here. One of those says show, and on it there is a eye open and eye closed. The right one is closed, the left one is open. So I was zoomed out, sorry, I zoomed in, now I have to zoom out. Yeah, that's cool. Nope, 100%. Yeah. Okay, so what do I want to hide here? Do I want to hide the girl? No, the girl has to be on the screen all the time. Do I want to hide the hats button, shirts button, pants button, shoes button? No, I want those buttons to be visible all the time. But everything else, every clothing here, I want to be hidden. So let's do it. Select the hat 1, select this closed eye here, which says show, next to the show, sorry. And look how hat will disappear on the screen. Just like that. And I will do that for every other clothing. For teddy bear, hide. For hat 3, hide. Shirt, hide. pants hide, pants 2, hide, shoes 1. And this sounds boring and stupid and dumb, but sometimes your work in game development is dumb, is slow, is boring, and unfortunately it's more than you will like it. And the bigger the studio is, it's probably your work and your job would be boring, more and more boring, and less fun to do, and more dumb. That's the game development. Sorry, but you have to know the truth. Anyway, we have hidden everything we don't need here, so what do we have here now? We have a girl here standing with a background with 4 buttons, hats, shirts, pants, shoes, and clothing here on the screen, but for now all the clothing is hidden, and that's what we wanted to do and that's what our GDD game design document said to us. We need artwork, character, we did it, background, did it, 4 buttons, we did it, hats 3 times, did, shirts 2 times, we did it, pants added, shoes added, and so on. So the next task is what? Coding, programming, code the character, background, code the buttons, and so on and so on. But that will be our next video. This one was probably really long. I don't know when I started, but that's the way you make games. I'm sorry if it took me too long, if I talk too slow, or if I'm too tired and too old to do this, but that's the way we are going to do things on K4A YouTube channel for now. And that's it for this video. I hope I will see you in next one. If you are confused or you want something to ask, go ahead in the comments, don't be afraid. Bye for now.